In this video, we're going to talk about fixing the American election system. First, let me start by saying this. 4 million people. Remember that. 4 million people. Now, I'm going to read off some states. And I want you to understand that this whole list of states in the United States of America, these states have less than 4 million people. Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Rhode Island, Montana, Maine, New Hampshire, Hawaii, West Virginia, Idaho, Nebraska, New Mexico, Kansas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Iowa, Nevada, Utah, Connecticut, and Oklahoma. Every one of those states, the entire population of those states individually is less than 4 million. The single city of Los Angeles, California has 4 million people. The single city of Los Angeles has more people, has a greater population than all of those states. So where's their electoral vote? How come these states, all of those states, get senators, but Los Angeles doesn't get senators? The states of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, 5 states in our union combined, the entire population of those 5 states combined is only 3.6 million. 5 states combined isn't even as many people as in one city, the city of Los Angeles. And that's not even the most populated city in America. The most populated city in America is New York. New York City has 8.5 million people in it. Now the state of New York has 19.5 million. Okay, so the city of New York has 8.5 million. What's double that? 17 million. Almost half of the whole state's population is in one city. How come New York State gives out electoral votes and New York State has senators, but New York City doesn't? When the founders were first establishing the country, they feared that certain states would get too populated and they would be able to outpower or outmaneuver the less populated states. What they didn't foresee was the idea of cities becoming so powerful and so overly populated that one tiny speck on the map, one little city with millions of people in it, will be able to overpower the voice of the rest of the state. It's not fair. I think a simple way to solve this is to establish essentially city-states. I propose that the 25 most populated states in America be granted a special privilege, be entitled to the right to have city-states in regards to electoral powers. What this would mean is, let's say the state of Pennsylvania, for example. It's election time. Everyone's ready to cast their votes. And the people of the state of Pennsylvania would go to the polls and cast their vote, presumably for a Democrat or a Republican. The whole state would cast their votes, and depending on which candidate they predominantly choose, the state would give their electoral votes to. So let's say, I don't know, the Republican candidate wins the state of Pennsylvania. But this would be Pennsylvania without any votes from Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia would be removed from the state. It doesn't matter what anyone in the state or inside the city of Philadelphia would vote, Republican or Democrat, it would not be counted in regards to the state of Pennsylvania. Instead, the people who are citizens of Philadelphia would cast their votes, and whoever wins the Democratic majority in the city would win the electoral votes of the city of Philadelphia. So potentially you could have the state of Pennsylvania go red for the Republican, and then the city-state of Philadelphia happens to go blue, and it would go for the Democratic candidate. This same model would be applied to the top 25 populated states in the Union. So another example would be New York. I've kind of already referenced them. The entire state of New York would vote for which candidate they want, excluding New York City. It would be like New York City doesn't exist. So whoever the state of New York, excluding New York City, wants to be president, that's the candidate the state would cast their electoral votes for. Then the city-state of New York City would do an election, and whoever wins that Democratic vote, the Republican or the Democrat, would win the electoral votes of the city-state. So potentially the state of New York could maybe go red, while New York City, that city-state, could go blue. Now, perhaps this could be extended to all of the states in the Union. That would make it more fair. So there wouldn't be a double standard, so to speak, or an irregularity where, one state, which has, let's say Alaska, it's a really low one. Let's say the people of Alaska feel that the powerhouse that is Anchorage is just overpowering the people, overpowering the will of the people. And the state of Alaska thinks that they should be able to exercise the right to have the privilege of having Anchorage be designated a city-state, so that the state of Alaska could vote one way and Anchorage could potentially vote another way. I'd be okay with that. If we wanted to extend it to all 50 and 50 plus, if there's some future states that are added to the Union, that'd be fine. I'd be okay with that. But I think 25, the most populated 25 states, would be a good place to start. Now, what I'm suggesting is something to fix national elections. So we're talking about these city-states still remaining apart physically to the states that they are in now currently, respectively. However, if this, went further and these cities actually did become city-states, they could acquire their own senators as well and representatives. So you could have, 2 senators for the state of New York, and then you could have 2 senators for the city-state of New York City. As of right now, that seems kind of far-fetched, but if Democrats manage to make the city of Washington, D.C. into a city-state, well, that would certainly grease that skid, wouldn't it? It'd certainly make it a lot easier to rationalize and justify turning a city like Los Angeles into its own state, the city-state of Los Angeles. And this would allow for the entire state of California to not care about what's going on in Los Angeles, because that's a whole other state. That wouldn't be the state of California's problem. That would be the city-state of Los Angeles's problem. Their debts, their issues, any type of homelessness, anything that's going on there, it'd be their issues. Of course, you would have to upgrade the powers of a city mayor in those areas to a seat of governorship, and that would allow them some interesting powers in regards to summoning National Guard and things. So you change up one little thing and it's going to cause a ripple effect. There's going to be benefits to my idea, and there would be negatives and side effects to it as well. Nothing is completely bad or completely good. There's always some give and take, but it's just something to think about.